Hi, welcome or welcome back to Books and Bocadillos. My name is Mariandrea, and I am back for another episode of Thursday Night Poetry. And in this episode, and hopefully in future episodes in the month of August of poetry, Thursday Night Poetry, I would like to focus on the poetry of women in translation. Um, I'm trying to participate in Women in Translation Month, and for me, one of the most accessible ways of participating in this event is through poetry. So today I want to talk about or read from the poems of one of my favorite poets and one of my favorite translators. So I'm going to try to share with you who my favorite translators are because I think that translation is an art, and I want to focus on the translators um, in all of this. So today I want to talk about Liliana Valenzuela. I first heard of Liliana Valenzuela through her translation of Martita Te Recuerdo, or Martita I Remember You. Martita I Remember You is a short novella written by Sandra Cisneros, and Martita Te Recuerdo in Spanish is the translation of Martita I Remember You, and the translation is by Liliana Valenzuela. When I read that book, I gushed about it on my channel. I love that book so much, and so much that just fell in love with the translation and with the art of translating through Liliana Valenzuela's translation. And it inspired me, and it's on my bucket list. I would like to be a translator someday. So something I hope to work towards, and I just so admire her. I had the honor of meeting Liliana Valenzuela at the Texas Book Festival last year in the fall, and I took a picture with her, and unfortunately I lost all my pictures. I had also taken a picture with Ada Limon. I lost that when my phone died earlier this year, and everything was lost. But what I didn't lose was the book that I purchased. And Liliana Valenzuela actually wrote me this long dedication. Um, I was able to gush with her and just tell her how much I love her work. So today I want to read some of Liliana Valenzuela's poems. And I'll read the intro because I think it'll give you an idea. I'll read a little bit from the intro. So it says this collection is Codex of Love, in Spanish, Bendita Ternura. Poemas by Liliana Valenzuela. Poetry and Poetics in Codex of Love, Bendita Ternura, Blessed Tenderness by Liliana Valenzuela. Liliana Valenzuela's poetry is the poetics of hopscotch, expressed as feelings, perplexities, and retrospections. Nothing is denied and everything is reaffirmed in the plausibility envisioned by her wild imagination. The aesthetic does not forswear the grotesque. Love does not forswear hate. History and myth are intertwined. Languages, English and Spanish, are present and absent. Detachment introduces materiality. These poems sweep us away on an idyllic flight, alternately swooping and soaring and diving from magnificent heights to hellish depths. They are a long way from the conformity and convention. We, the readers, should expect that all purisms have been circumvented, but the absence of purisms does not mean that we will find no pure poetry in Valenzuela's work. In fact, the poems in this collection frequently ascend to purest heights. Valenzuela has drawn from an eclectic range of resources during her poetic journey. For example, she relies on an anthropological perspective that sharpens her perception as she gazes through a sociological lens that shrewd readers will not fail to notice. Her verses are also infused with music, and as we read, we seem to hear songs, ballads, and boleros playing softly between the lines. Photography, too, plays a role in these poetic performances as she renders poems inspired by photographic images. There can be no doubt, however, that linguistics in this poet's is this poet's most outstanding stylistic resource. Valenzuela is a gifted translator of considerable renown, and it is her skills in that field that equip her to juggle languages so effectively in her poems. We will never know with any certainty which versions or creations of these poems were originally written in English or Spanish. They were were they composed at the same time? Separately, translated, adapted? Readers will enjoy this particular perplexity. So, this collection is divided into 4 sections. I think it's 4. The first section is Desire, Bendita Clitoris. The second one is Ekphrastic Poems, Imágenes. The third is Where I'm From, De Dónde Soy. The fourth is El Norte, USA. And the final one is Mundo y Espíritu, Spiritus Mundi. So I'm going to read a poem from each section and just give you an idea. Like the intro said, we don't know which language came first, whether this was written in the poem was originally written in English or Spanish, but Liliana Valenzuela wrote and translated her poetry. And the intro that I read is by Benito Pastoriza Iodo, author of A Matter of Men and other fiction and poetry books. And it was translated, so the intro was written in Spanish and translated from the Spanish by Tony Beckwith, author of My Uruguay, Vignettes from a Way of Life. So I'm going to read the first poem in this section titled Solstice Moon. Sleeping in the nude, under bright moonlight, a man and a woman love the evening in swift strokes. The breeze surfing through the open porch, the clouds parting to underscore this solstice moon. Drenched in sweat, they have moon in their eyes, and sleep finds them silver-bathed. Purple martins, sparrows, and mockingbirds sing through the night, confounded by the light. A jagged song, a cry, the beating of wings, birds multiplied in tall nests. The evening stands still. A man and a woman lay side by side on thin mats, caressed by the wind at the mercy of stars. And the Spanish is Luna de Solsticio. Durmiendo desnudos bajo una luna brillante, un hombre y una mujer aman la noche en raudas brazadas. La brisa barre la terraza abierta, las nubes se abren para resaltar esta luna de solsticio. Empapados de sudor, ellos tienen luna en los ojos y el sueño los encuentra bañados en plata. Las golondrinas purpúreas, los gorriones y los sensontles cantan toda la noche, confundidos por la luz. Una canción abrupta, un gemido, un batir de alas, pájaros multiplicados en altos nidos. La noche se aquieta. Un hombre y una mujer se recuestan lado a lado en colchonetas delgadas, acariciados por el viento a la merced de las estrellas. The next section is Ekphrastic Poems, Imágenes, and I'm going to read this first one, I think. First one from this section as well, titled Home. 1 Refinery, Lake Charles, Louisiana, 1953, photographed by Fritz Henley, 1909 to 1993. Metal platforms, grilled walkways, light yet sturdy, the voluptuousness of metal, round knob, open and close the valve, steam rising, metal structures, perforated metal sheets, trabajadores sindicalizados y los ingenieros de confianza. My dad's steel nerves when confronting a fire. He remained calm. Fire alarm. Honk, 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 honk at night. Towers flooded with light. Big reflectors slice the night. Mist, vapor, toxins, or just water. A city of light and steam. Pipes taking in raw oil for refinement. Giant globes containing who knows what, skin burning, nostril incapacitating, liquids or gases, the hum and grind of metal, pipes letting off steam, big burner in the distance, our own primeval bonfire to the tepenacas of Azcapotzalco, burning, glowing in red, yellow, orange, better than any sunset, our own sunset, what home looks like, northwest quadrant of Mexico City, past el toreo de Cuatro Caminos, bullfight ring por periférico norte rumbo a satélite, a large trashy boulevard, then the moving gate of La Colonia, armed guards at the booth checking movement in and out, inside, peace, home, and a whiff of brimstone. The translation is Hogar, or who knows, the original. We don't know whether it came first in English or Spanish, but here's the Spanish. This is Hogar. One Refinery, Lake Charles, Louisiana, 1953. Fotografía de Fritz Enley, 1909 a 1993. Plataformas metálicas, pasarelas con rejillas, ligeras pero fuertes, la voluptuosidad del metal, perrilla redonda, abre y cierra la válvula, el vapor se eleva, estructuras de fierro, hojas de metal perforado, trabajadores sindicalizados y los ingenieros de confianza, los nervios de acero de mi papi. Al enfrentar un incendio mantenía la calma, la alarma contra incendios, guá, 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 guá. Por la noche las torres bañadas en luz, los enormes reflectores rebanan la bruma nocturna, vapor, toxinas o solo agua, una ciudad de luz y vapor, las tuberías reciben el petróleo crudo para su refinación. Esferas gigantes que contienen quién sabe qué líquidos o gases que queman la piel, incapacitan las fosas nasales, el zumbar y rechinar del metal, la tubería deja escapar el vapor, un quemador grande a la distancia, nuestra propia primigenia fogata a los tepanecas de Azcapotzalco, ardiendo, resplandeciendo, un rojo amarillo anaranjado mejor que cualquier puesta del sol, nuestra propia puesta del sol, así es nuestro hogar. En el cuadrante noroeste de la Ciudad de México, pasando el toreo de Cuatro Caminos por periférico norte, rumbo a satélite, un amplio camellón lleno de basura. Entonces el portón eléctrico de la colonia, guardias armados en la caseta, revisando quién entra y quién sale adentro. Una paz, mi hogar, y un tufo de azufre. I really enjoyed that poem, the visual. I can see the images very clearly. The next section in this collection is where I'm from, de Dónde Soy. And I'm just going to continue reading the first poem of each section because it's just what I want to read. This is where I'm from. To my compa Levi and the Maconistas, a poem after George Ella Lyon. I am sulfur and gasoline, volcanoes and valleys of Maria cookies, laundry with Vel Rosita and station XEW. I am from houses with gardens, streets without cars, and a giant gas burner in the distance. I come from grass, trees, and geraniums, pirul and colorín, whose little red beans my siblings and I would rub on the pavement to burn our skin. I'm from kermeses and Christmas posadas, my cousin Sandy and my aunt Güera. I come from Jesus, Maria y Jose, And what will people say? Watch out, and a word for the wise. I'm from keeping your legs together, and don't talk with your mouth full. I'm of damned, snotty brat and the Holy Virgin. I'm of Tenochtitlan and the defective, of big-nosed Valenzuelas and Aguileras, of creamy avocados and charamusca candy, sopa de fideos and chiles rellenos, green olives and flan. I come from the hidden treasure of Mayor Riaño in my grandparents' house in Guanajuato, and my father who sold milk on horseback in Tabasco, and his mother would scold him because he gave credit to all. I carry the photos of my ancestors in my wallet with the certainty that they will protect me and remember me in the South. We are of salt, chile, and brown sugar, tamales in corn husks and banana leaves, blonde and brunette, rascals and charmers, but always sounding off and spinning tall tales. I'm a Tejana from Mexico City who ended up in the north and raised her children here, but I never forget my people, not here nor there. In Mexico, I met my sweet gringo and followed him up north, quit wearing a bra and enrolled in the University of Texas. I blended in with the gringos, confusing the Chicanos because I looked like white bread instead of pure Mexican. But appearances are deceiving, and as the years passed, I've become a reverse Chicana with one foot on each side of the Rio Bravo, the Rio Grande, and among mesquites and maguey cactus, I sing my song. This is the Spanish. ¿De dónde soy? Al compa Levi y a los maconistas. Un poema inspirado en George Ella Lyon. Soy de azufre y gasolina, volcanes y valles, de galletas María, Belrosita y la XCW. Soy de casas con jardín, calles sin coches y un quemador de gas ardiendo a la distancia. Soy el pasto, árboles y geranios de pirul y colorín, cuyos frijolitos rojos frotábamos en el pavimento para quemarnos la piel entre mis hermanos y yo. Soy de kermeses y posadas de mi prima Sandy y mi tía Güera. Yo vengo de Jesús, María y José, y el que dirán, ponte abusada, y al buen entendedor pocas palabras. Soy de cierra las piernas y no hables con la boca llena. Soy de mocosa del diablo y la Santísima Virgen. Soy de Tenochtitlán y del defectuoso de Valenzuelas y Aguileres narijones. De chinchín y charamusca, sopa de fideos y chiles rellenos, aceitunas y flan. Vengo del tesoro escondido del intendente Riaño en la casa de los abuelos en Guanajuato, y vengo de mi papá que iba a vender leche a caballo en Tabasco, y su mamá lo regañaba porque a todos fiaba. Los retratos de mis antepasados los llevo en la cartera con la sensación certera de que ellos me protegen y desde el sur me recuerdan. Somos de sal, chile y dulce, tamales de hoja, de maíz y de plátano, rubios y morenos, sangrones y simpáticos, pero eso sí, muy legüeleyos, muy leguleyos y mitoteros. Soy una chilanga tejana que al norte vino a parar y aquí a sus hijos a criar, pero de mis paisanos no me olvido ni aquí ni allá. En México conocí a mi gringuito y hasta el norte lo seguí. Dejé de usar brasier y en la Universidad de Texas me inscribí. Entre los gringos me confundía y a los chicanos despistaba, pues parecía bolilla en vez de pura mexicana. Pero las apariencias engañan y con el paso de los años me he vuelto una chicana a la inversa, con un pie a cada lado del río Bravo, del río Grande, y entre mezquites y magueyes entono mi canto. The next section is El Norte, USA. And still with the first poem of each section. It just keeps drawing me in, the first poem. So good. Okay, this section, November 2nd, 1998, on the eve of becoming an American citizen. Not me, not I, gringa. I would never be. Gritos de muera, muera el imperialismo yanqui. Resonando en mi cabeza. Yo, la Malinche. There is always me, search and research. Going full circle. Me, an American, a Mexican American, a bona fide Chicana chayote head. My life is here now, raising my bilingual chilpayates, married, metida hasta las chanclas in this brave new world. A binational, una Nutella, bicolor, vainilla y chocolate, dual citizenship at least. Los políticos in Mexico finally woke up to us, raza on this side of the border. Welcome, paisano, bienvenido, amigo, hasta que se les prendió el foco, cabrones. Ahora sí, pásenle, que su nopal está lleno de tunas. Aquí en la frontera, en el no man's land, mujer puente, mujer frontera, mujer malinche. Ahora sí, cuando me chiflen por la calle me podrán decir gringuita, y por primera vez lo seré una bolilla, una gabacha. Mis ojos azules y cabello rubio por fin corresponderán a los estereotipos de la gente. But you don't look Mexican. Entonces, ¿qué parezco? ¿Acaso tengo changos en la cara? When I die, spread my ashes along the Rio Grande, the Rio Bravo, where I once swam naked. This is the Spanish. So the title here didn't change. November 2nd, 1998, on the eve of becoming an American citizen. Yo nunca sería una gringa, gritos de muera el imperialismo yanqui resonando en mi cabeza. Yo la Malinche, there is always me, search and research. Como completar un círculo. Yo, una americana, una Mexican American, una auténtica chicana choya de chayote. Mi vida está aquí ahora criando a mis chilpayates bilingües, casada, metida hasta las chanclas en este mundo feliz. Una binacional, una Nutella bicolor, vainilla y chocolate, doble ciudadanía al menos. Los políticos de México por fin nos reconocen. La raza de este lado de la frontera, bienvenido paisano, bienvenido amigo, hasta que se les prendió el foco, cabrones. Ahora sí pásenle que su nopal está lleno de tunas. Aquí en la frontera, en esta tierra de nadie, mujer puente, mujer frontera, mujer malinche, ahora sí, cuando me chiflen por la calle, me podrán decir gringuita y por primera vez lo seré una bolilla, una gabacha. Mis ojos azules, mi cabello rubio por fin corresponderán a los estereotipos de la gente. Es que no pareces mexicana. Entonces, ¿qué parezco? ¿Acaso tengo changos en la cara? Cuando muera, que se rieguen mis cenizas en el Río Grande, el Río Bravo, donde una vez nadé desnuda. And then we're down to the last section. And it is Mundo y Espíritu, Spiritus Mundi. Because I've already been reading the first one, I'm just going to continue with that trend. Shaman, if lightning strikes. Ignite each cell with ancient awareness. Invite lightning to pierce my being, to weather me in one swift stroke. Wet feet, charred redeemer of the hungry, finding herbs, mixing potions, speaking to the wind. Curandera, si me cae un rayo. Encender cada célula con conciencias antiguas, invitar al rayo a penetrar mi esencia, a curtirme por dentro de un solo tajo. Pies mojados, chamuscada redentora de hambrientos, buscaré las hierbas, mezclaré las pócimas, hablaré con los vientos. So that is the poetry of Liliana Valenzuela, who is a poet and a translator. And I just want to celebrate Liliana for her writing. And I love her so much. I love her poetry and I love her translation. And I just wish I could someday be as good a translator as she is. She is amazing. Just amazing. So cheers to reading more women in translation and poets in translation. And thank you so much for watching. Hasta la próxima.